This is an annual meeting. We do this for Clean Rivers Program. The Clean Rivers Program is a statewide program we're the local partner for. Andrew's going to talk more about that. There is. I don't know if it works or not. How about that? Is that better? Can you hear me now? Okay. So again, my name is Jeremiah Poling. I'm the Deputy General Manager for the Angelina River Authority. I have been working in the Clean Rivers Program in the Environmental Division of the River Authority for about 15 years almost. And Andrew has recently kind of taken the reins of the Clean Rivers Program from me, so he's going to talk more about it. Did I tell you that we're professionals? It's just a job. I think the keyboard is just trying to go to Teams. So, our agenda for today, I'm going to stand here and read off the slide like I know what I'm doing. I'm going to do introductions, as I said, and then Andrew's going to talk about the Clean Rivers Program, and he's going to talk about our Basin Highlights Report, which is another annual thing that we do. And then we're going to have some people from the Texas Water Resource Institute talk about some projects that we're partnering with them on. And then we're going to have some education and outreach and recreation updates from Kimberly Wagner, our public relations person. And then we're going to have some guest speakers from Keep MAC Beautiful, from Citizen MAC, and from the Texas Conservation Alliance. And we're also going to have, are we missing?
Curtis Craven.
He's a filmmaker, and he should be on there. I don't know where Kimberly wants to insert him, but that's going to be one of the more interesting presentations. Yeah. So just because it's not on the...
Sorry.
Don't put the pressure on.
And then we're going to have some open discussion at the end if anybody wants to talk about or ask questions. So, this is going to be an all-day thing, isn't it? Keyboard's not turning. I turned it off. So the Nature's River Basin is one of 17 or 15 river basins in the state. I'm totally drawing a blank. Do you know? 15 river basins. It's been a minute since I've done this. Andrew's been doing it. The Angelina Nature's River Authority's jurisdiction is the Nature's River Basin, with the exception of 3 counties in the lower portion of the basin that are the jurisdictional area of the lower Neches Valley Authority. So those 17 counties, or portions of those 17 counties, are the Angelina Nature's River Authority area. I'm sure that was going to work. We have 3 divisions within the River Authority. We've got our General Administration Division, which is coordination with government entities. We do water resource planning and development, things like reservoirs and water systems and sewer systems. And we do economic development through tax favored bond issuances. Our Field Operations Division operates water and wastewater treatment plants, and also we have a composting facility in Jacksonville that takes sewer sludge from wastewater treatment plants, from municipal wastewater treatment plants, and turns it into compost. It's a very popular product. It keeps that wastewater sludge out of landfills and actually turns it into a usable product that is pretty popular. And then our Environmental Division does the Clean Rivers Program and Clean Rivers Program adjacent projects like the Clean Water Act projects. We do surface water quality monitoring and report writing on that data that we collect. And we pass that data along to TCEQ, and they use it for their assessments and their report writing as well. We also have an environmental laboratory that takes in those Clean Rivers Program samples and analyzes them, and also takes in samples from our sewer utilities and our water utilities, and also other local water and sewer municipalities, and also just members of the general public. If somebody wants their well water tested or something like that, our lab is capable of doing that. And then we have our on-site sewage facilities program. That is permitting for home septic systems. If you're not on a public sewer and you've got a home septic system and you're in Angelina County or St. Augustine County or in a specific area around the Sam River Reservoir, we do the permitting for that and the regulation for it as far as dealing with complaints. If somebody has sewer running through their yard and their neighbors call, we are the ones that go and investigate that and deal with the enforcement of that. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Andrew and let him tell you about the Clean Rivers Program.
so hi everybody. Again, I'm Andrew. I'm the CRP or Clean Rivers Program Coordinator for ANRA. So we'll kind of start off with what the Clean Rivers Program is, and it's a statewide effort that's been ongoing since 1991, and its focus is on basically monitoring and then hopefully maintaining and improving water quality across the state. As mentioned earlier, we are one of the program partners. It's a joint effort between the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality and 15 partner agencies. Most of them are river authorities. There's a few other water districts and things of that nature. But it's funded by state fees, and I think that's, yeah. It's working now. Of course.
Fingers crossed it works more than most likely.
But so our budget works off of basically a 2-year cycle. So we're in the middle of a budget cycle right now. So this isn't necessarily new. We saw this last year. But for the fiscal year 24 and 2025, across the state, they had about just over $10 million allocated towards this program. For the Neches Basin, it's a little bit more unique because, as mentioned earlier, we kind of share the basin with the Lower Neches Valley Authority, which is another river authority in the Neches Basin. So technically, you can just take one of these 392,000 and split it in half, and that's what we get each year. So what that looks like broken down is this, and basically you'll see a bunch of it goes to personnel, salary, fringe benefits, and indirect costs. These are basically all associated with salary, insurance, things of that nature. The other big chunk of it is under other, and it's kind of a catch-all term, but to kind of generalize it, other is where a lot of our laboratory costs come in. It's very expensive, but a very necessary thing. The other two are, like they sound, travel and supplies. Travel, us going places, and then supplies, things we use, equipment, things of that nature. So going in, here are basically, there are 4 major entities that do a lot of monitoring in the Neches Basin. That's us, the Lower Neches Valley Authority, and the 2 TCEQ regional offices, one based out of Beaumont and one based out of Tyler. As far as Clean Rivers program sampling, our schedule hasn't changed since last year really, and we still monitor 37 sites quarterly, and then also 2 additional sites for what's called the 24-hour dissolved oxygen monitoring event, and we do those about 5 times a year each. You'll notice I have some changes up here, and these are kind of more associated with what we call our Clean Water Act projects. They come from Clean Water Act Section 319H funds. It's kind of a little bit of a different system, but it's still adjacent, and a lot of the data from these projects does go into the TCEQ database that stores Clean Rivers program data. And basically, you'll find out more about these later, but Ayash Bayou sampling is probably about to start back up again in September or early in the fiscal year for fiscal year 25. And also back in March of this year, we had sampling start on the Lenana Bayou watershed as part of the watershed protection plan that was just put in place. That kind of had us pick up 2 sites monthly. One of them's a new site, one of them was already a Clean Rivers program site. And then also there are 5 sites on the Atoyac Bayou as part of a watershed protection plan in that area, and they're about to end in August. So all of that being said, this is basically what it looks like slapped on a map. This is last year. You can see the Ayash project over here with these red flags, the Atoyac up here with the purple. I did point out Tarrant Regional Water District monitors Lake Palestine. That has to do with, they're technically not in our basin, but they are kind of in works for, there's an integrated pipeline project where Dallas is buying water from Lake Palestine. But so that's why they're out there. And then looking at this year, the main changes we have, Ayash project went away, but it's about to start back up again. These will soon go away. And you'll notice in Nacogdoches, there's our site on Bonita Creek, and and the one on Laniana Creek that we also do monthly. So that's where we do our sampling. What we actually collect is we have our bacteriological parameters, our conventional parameters, and our field parameters. So with our bacteriological parameters, we're looking at E. coli, basically seeing how much waste is in the water and the harmful bacteria that come with it. For conventional parameters, these and also the bacteria are all basically water bottles that we would take to a lab and then they would test them in the lab. So we have a lot of different nitrogen and phosphorus compounds. These are usually what we kind of generalize as nutrients, and they have an impact on water quality, algal growth, things of that nature. We also look at chloride and total suspended solids, which chloride can be, like for instance, chlorine from wastewater treatment plant, or if like someone dumps a pool or something like that, which can have impacts on water quality. Total suspended solids is basically what it sounds like, things floating around in the water that are suspended there. Our field parameters, they can kind of be broken into a couple different groups. We have dissolved oxygen, pH, conductivity, and temperature. These all get measured with a device called a water quality sonde. It's basically like a fancy stick that you put in the water and it will tell you all these things. We also collect instantaneous stream flow, see how much water is moving through this area at a given time, measured in cubic feet a second. And then we also look at Secchi depth, which is a kind of measure of water clarity or turbidity. And then also we do field observations, basically looking, is the stream flooded, is it normal flow, what's the weather like that day, when's the last time that it rained significantly, because that has an impact on water quality. Moving forward from that, this is kind of our work area. We mainly focus on 604, 610, 612, and 611, and that's the Upper Angelina watershed, Toyac Bayou watershed, Sam Rayburn watershed, and Neches River below Palestine. So, kind of moving forward, we've looked at kind of all the stuff we collected where, kind of getting behind the why now. So with all this data that gets collected across the state, we send it into TCEQ and they do assessments on all the water bodies that they have available data for. And then every 2 years they put out a report called the integrated report, and it has basically a lot of information about water quality all over the state. It's really got a lot of neat stuff in there. But one of the big things that's in there is the 303D list. And this is basically a list of all impaired waters in the state. I kind of have a smaller version of it here that shows impaired water bodies in our part of the basin. So these two in red are the two new impairments on the riverine portion of Sam Rayburn for bacteria in water and low pH. And I know this seems bad, but that's not very many new impairments, which is good. A lot of the issues we face are dealing with bacteria in water, which is hard to track and it's hard to fix. And a lot of these projects take several years to try and work towards remediating these issues. Other things like mercury in edible tissue or dioxins in edible tissue are basically different contaminants that are, for the most part, from kind of past emissions and effluent and stuff before a lot of this was regulated, and it's kind of left over. There are still some things polluting that sort of stuff, but it's a lot less than it once was. Going on to some better news, we have some reclassifications and some delistings. So these are some water bodies that have been kind of either removed or reclassified on the 303D list. So Piney Creek had a complete delisting where we got new data in and it was found that there's not an impairment for bacteria anymore. These four, Cedar Creek, Jack Creek, Piney Creek, and Biloxi Creek, are all part of a TMDL that we've been working on with Texas Water Resources Institute. And they have been reclassified now. I should mention that impaired water bodies are given a classification of 5, meaning they're impaired. And so they are now reclassed as 4s. which means they're still impaired, but there's something being done about it, which is slow progress, but it's progress. Also, they have decided to make a new Category 5, the 5R category, which basically means that a watershed protection plan is in place for these water bodies. And these are plans that are kind of watershed-based that focus on remediating a watershed using local entities and efforts. But, so a lot of these with our watershed protection plans that we've been working on with Texas Water Resources Institute have been reclassified. Moving on to the Basin Highlights Report. So this is a yearly report we give, and it basically goes over what we've been doing in the basin and kind of just gives updates on the Clean Rivers program. It's kind of like a report format of this meeting, but with a lot more information behind it. Since the integrated report only comes out every 2 years, you can only talk about the 303B list so much. TCEQ came up with a solution to this where we changed the format of the report every other year. And so instead of a standard report like we had last year, this one is a watershed characterization. Basically, this is where I go in and do an in-depth study on certain watersheds in our basin. For this year, I chose the Lake Palestine watershed and the Sam Rayburn Reservoir watershed because they both are lake watersheds and they both face similar impairments of high pH, manganese in sediment, and then excessive algal growth. Excuse me. And then this is our jurisdictional area, this blue area here. So I'm going to kind of rapid fire through the rest of these because we can't really get into all of the report in this meeting, but basically looked at a bunch of different things in these two watersheds, like the geography, population density and distribution, the land covered land use, which for those of you who don't know, land covered land use is basically a data set that shows you what the land area is being used for. So for instance, this yellow color is like a pasture, and then this green color represents pine forest. I also looked at watershed inputs, where the water's coming from, where it's draining from, and basically how much from each of these sub-watersheds. We looked at the climate of the area, reservoir capacity, which has an impact on water quality. Looked at hydrologic soil groups, which again I'll kind of sum these up. So in this watershed for Lake Palestine, it's much more likely to have infiltration into the soil from rainfall, things of that nature, versus in the Rayburn watershed, it's more likely to have runoff because it's more clayey soils versus sandy or gravelly. We also looked at the monitoring history of both of these sites, which sites are active, and all these little gray sites show historical monitoring efforts in the area. These purple sites with the yellow diamonds also indicate where wastewater outfalls were. And then this is kind of showing the statuses of projects in both of these watersheds and their drainage areas. A lot of those watershed protection plans I talked about earlier, such as the Atoyac or the Olenana Kickapoo. And then the part I had the most fun with was all the science cartoons. This was my favorite part, kind of going through and explaining what's going on with water quality through a bunch of different infographics and stuff like that. Had some things calling out, like, I don't know if y'all can read this, but this fish is complaining that there's dioxins in its food and to not burn trash because that's a major source of dioxins, which are a toxic chemical that you don't want to eat, but it ends up in a fish. Here are some more of these little infographics, like this one showing eutrophication, which is basically as algal growth increases on a water body, it changes how that water body functions. Or like we were talking about metals and sediment, this is showing how lake turnover, which is a limnologic process where basically water temperature and oxygen levels switch around throughout the year in a lake. But that cycle also shows or impacts how metals and sediment can accumulate. And then also how respiration and photosynthesis is the word I was looking for, how those impact pH. And then we also looked at trophic states. This is basically the level of eutrophy or eutrophication that reservoir has. That's also a Secchi disc. Earlier I talked about Secchi depth measurements. You basically put that into the water and lower it down until you can't see it anymore. And that's a measure of water clarity. And then we also looked at major watershed events. So this had to do a lot with looking at all the major reports that I could find on water quality in these two watersheds. And then a whole bunch of other stuff. So we'll talk a little bit about our education and outreach that's going on. And then also we've started an internship program with the Center for Applied Research and Rural Innovation out of Stephen F. Austin State University. It's been a really great program so far, and I've got to work with, I think, 3 or 4 interns at this point, and we've had a couple interns also work in our environmental laboratory too. And that's been a really good experience for everyone around. And with that, here's a couple helpful links towards different things that we've talked about today. TCEQ's website, Basin Highlights Report. This will also be posted, so kind of move forward. If y'all have any questions and you don't want to talk about right now, here's my contact information. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. But with that, this will kind of move on to the next thing.
Does anybody have any questions for Andrew?
Yeah.
So the next monitoring, I got, when was that? September in Ayish Bayou?
The Ayish Bayou project is probably about to start back up in
Okay,
September.
would that be something like the water, collecting water samples?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's a possible time to shoot something like that, depending.
Absolutely. It's we actually we pretty much sample year round. That project that I was referencing is they're normally 1 to 2 year contracts that go in, and we collect a bunch of data, and then usually Texas Water Resources Institute processes that data, and we help them kind of write reports. They do a lot of the administrative and science side behind it. I do a lot of the collecting.
Okay, so you're actually in the field collecting the samples?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And who would be, what would, you got, I mean, how many, we'll go into that later. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So how often did you sample those waters?
So
So there is a lot of changes between rains and more effluent and runoff, so it can change the quality of the water.
that's one of the things when we sample, we try and sample during basically normal conditions, where there's normal or ambient conditions, I guess is the correct word. So we normally try not to go out when it's raining or right after it's flooded. We normally try and get normal flow, which with the requirements of our project, that's not always possible because we've got to get those 37 sites done every quarter. And especially with some of the rain we've been having lately, high water is just something we have to deal with. But
And it's just one sample event at the station that you actually point out, for example, for the Planana Creek or Manita Creek.
so for like one station, we would go in, we would collect the flow measurement, and then we'd have usually 5 bottles, and they're kind of grouped into different parameters based on how they're tested in the lab. And so, yeah, each site will have about 5 bottles. We'll take field parameters, observations, the water quality sonde, taking pH and temperature.
Yeah, the frequency depends on the site. For the bulk of our CRP sites, we're monitoring them 4 times per year. For a lot of the special project sites like these on Lanana Bayou, we're monitoring them monthly. And we have some projects, we don't have any currently going, but we've had some in the past that have monitored as frequently as every other week. So
My question is because, like, for example, Lanana Creek is so quite large watershed within Nacogdoches, right? But there's a lot of variability in the landscape from the headwaters to probably that side. So how do you actually account for that variability?
we try to space out the monitoring sites. Most of our monitoring sites end up being at road crossings for accessibility reasons. We need to be able to get on them, and getting landowner permission on private property tends to be an issue. And so for the most part, as you look at these sites on this one in particular, each one of those dots on the map represents one of the monitoring sites. So you can see they're kind of spread out through the watershed, but there's not a whole lot down in the southern portion, and there's not a whole lot in the northern portion. And the reason is because there's so many road crossings within the city limits. And so we're able to get a lot more sites there. And you've also got a lot more potential variability within the city as well, because we're looking for pollution sources, and those tend to be more concentrated within a populated area. And so it tends to work out. You get a more dense set of monitoring sites where you have more dense population versus the areas that are more rural. If there's some sort of pollution or something getting into the streams up there, it's easier to trace it back. So you have a monitoring site, and if there's something happening there, does the upstream site also see the same thing? If this is the most upstream site, then it's close to the top of the watershed. There's not a whole lot up there to investigate beyond the site. So having multiple sites in there like that and monitoring them more frequently gives us a little bit better resolution in the data to be able to.
And the frequency you say is monthly, something?
On this particular project, it's monthly, yeah. For our standard Clean Rivers program monitoring, it's quarterly.
So the data that you collect, it doesn't remove from public?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gets uploaded to TCEQ. They have a public database that it comes from. You could also request it from us directly if you wanted to. We could pull it, but you can get it from TCEQ directly on the website.
No, but my question was okay because, I did a lot of sampling in Lanana Creek and Bonita Creek, a lot of variability in the aquatic community
Yeah.
that I assume is consequences of the water quality, but there's also a lot of variability in the parameters that I mentioned.
Lanana being as flood prone as it is, it has a big effect on the water quality up there because there's so much that just moves around all the time. Every time it floods, something moves. The stream bed's moving, the stuff flowing down into it. It's a pretty diffuse problem as far as we can tell. We've not found a smoking gun. We always hope that when we start a project like this, we're always hoping that we're going to find something and go, oh, well, that's what it is right there. If we fix that, we're going to have this problem solved. And it never is. It's always, leaks from sewer systems, and it's, leaking
Well,
from
that's why
septic
I
systems.
asked for the accounting for variability because there's that huge variation of the
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, it basically boils down to spreading as many sites as we're able to financially pick up and spread them out in a reasonable fashion. We look at the land cover, land use, and try to spread the sites out so that we can try and narrow down those hot spots if we can find a hot spot. But as I said, it's pretty. Luna will be able to tell you a little bit more when she starts her presentation. But
Thank you.
so
Is this, I know this is a stupid question, but is this the Natchez?
no, that's Lanana Bayou. That's
Okay,
the darker area right there in the middle is the city of Nacogdoches.
Correct.
So that blue line at the very bottom is the Angelina River.
Yes. Okay. And why is this important?
We're going to talk about this. Luna's going to talk
Okay.
about it. TWRI is going to
All will
talk
be
about
revealed.
it. So next up, we've got Luna Yang from TWRI. She's going to talk about this project we're partnering with them on.
So this thing works?
It worked for Andrew. We'll hope that it's going to work.
Oh, it does work now. Okay, hello. My name's Luna Yan. I'm a research specialist with the Texas Water Resources Institute. If you didn't know, we're a unit under Texas A&M AgriLab Research and Extension Services. We're also part of the Ag department. So today, I actually made that map. I think for the implementation proposal, the intensive monitoring sites. Are y'all still doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So Lanana, the water bodies were listed as impaired for having elevated E. coli concentrations in the water since year 2000. And in 2019, we developed this watershed characterization report. I mean, we as in TWRI. And later, we developed the watershed protection plan that actually supported the development of that plan. And it was accepted by EPA last year, or 2013. 2023, it was accepted by EPA, I think. And ever since that, the implementation started. So this is going to talk about what has been happening throughout the implementation process since May 2023. All right, since May 2023, so this implementation project is funded through the Texas Soil and Water Conservation Board's Clean Water Act Section 319 fund. So this project has been supporting monitoring projects, because SFA, SU, and NR are both doing monitoring within the watershed. And we also have education and outreach component within the watershed. So February 2024, Dr. Kelly Albus is also with TWRI, but in the Dallas Water Center. She completed a training for the SFASU students on using optical brightener sampling techniques. They call it template. Basically, you use a tampon. It's cheaper than the traditional way of tracing contaminations in water. So you use a tampon and you collect water samples and use the ultraviolet light to see if there's optical brightener, because optical brightener can be an indicator for contaminations, because we added that in detergents and whatnot. So she did that training, and later this year, if you're interested, she's going to deliver this program called the Access Program, where she would come and kind of train the educators on how to train the next generations of water conservationists, or how to protect water. So that's the educational component. That's basically what we're doing. The education and outreach component is completed by TWRI, and the monitoring component is completed by SFA, SU, and ARA. Is there any questions regarding Lanana WPP implementation? Any questions? Okay, then I'll move on to Atoya. Atoya Bayou. This watershed is way bigger than Lanana, and it has been listed as impaired for bacteria concentrations, too much bacteria in water, since 2004. And the watershed encompasses 4 counties, basically: Rask, Nacogdoches, Shelby, St. Augustine, and it just drains into Sun River Reservoir. And the Atoya Bayou also has a watershed protection plan in place, if you didn't know. And it was completed in 2015. It was accepted by EPA in 2015. And since that, implementation activities have been taking place since 2016. I believe y'all started failing OSF replacement since 2016.
I think it was actually a little bit earlier than that. We almost started that project before the WPP was fully accepted.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been doing OSSF repair and replacement projects in that watershed that are implementation projects of the watershed protection plan since about late 2013, I think is when we started.
Yeah, a lot of efforts have been, and money have been put into this project. So from a TWRI perspective, this project has been funded, the current project is funded through, again, Soil and Water Conservation Board's Clean Water Act 319 non-point source grant pot of money. And this is supporting, again, SFASU and ARA's monitoring activities within the watershed. And TWRI has been delivering educational workshops within the watershed since 2022. So we had a Texas Watershed Stewards workshop, Lone Star Healthy Streams, Healthy Lungs, Healthy Waters. So Lone Star Healthy Streams are more targeting rural landowners, producers on land conservation, water conservation, just natural resource conservation in general. And Healthy Lungs, Healthy Waters are targeting more urban homeowners. We just had one in Round Rock near the city of Austin, where the educators kind of show you what's the best schedule to mow the lawn, irrigate the lawn, how to do rain harvesting properly, stuff like that. So those educational programs, I was told, they were in Nacogdoches, city of Nacogdoches, even though the city is outside of the watershed. It was just a more convenient place for everyone to go. So, and they also did a mailer project where they sent surveys to septic system owners, and to see their how often they maintenance, what type of system they have and how often they maintain, or repair whatever their systems. That report will be completed soon this year. So there's another implementation project that's funded through TCEQ's non-point source grant. And through this project, like Jeremiah and Andrew said, they have started replacing failing septic tanks because it's very expensive to do it as a homeowner yourself. So we would, you guys submitted the grant proposals to sustain that.
For some of them, we've been working very closely with TWR on all those projects.
I think the 20.
The very first one we did.
Yeah,
ourselves.
the very first one, they replaced, I think, 24 or 15 failing septic systems, something like that. And the next one, when we worked together, we placed an extra 24 OSF septic systems. And through this current project, they replaced 21 failing systems. That's together over 80 failing septic systems within less than 10 years. So that's very impressive. And because per septic system right now is anywhere between $8,000 to $12,000 or $13,000. So 80 of that, it's well over $1 million. And the final report is drafted, and this current septic system replacement project would conclude in August 2024. Are there any questions? Okay, cool.
Do you think you're getting a big bunch of them? Percentage of the failing?
Percentage of failing?
You-
I'm not sure about the failing
I
rate.
mean, is that something somebody calls in and says, my septic tank is failing, and so you guys,
To some degree, yes.
so there are probably out there,
There's likely some out there that we don't know anything
Yes.
about. The more rural you get, the more likely that you've got somebody that just doesn't want the government anywhere near them, and they're back in the woods, and they may have a straight pipe into the trees.
correct?
We've tried, on the very first project that we did, we were going door to door, because part of the problem with that first project was that as the permitting agency for OSSFs, nobody wants to talk to us about their OSSF.
What is OSF?
OSSF is on-site sewage facility. It's a home septic system.
Okay.
That's just a shorthand for home septic system.
Septic.
Yeah. So as we're trying, we have this pot of money that EPA has given us through the Soil Board and through TCEQ. This 319, the Clean Water Act, Section 319. We keep talking about 319. It's Section 319 of the Clean Water Act. It provides funding to the EPA, and then EPA hands that funding down to the states. In some states, I think EPA administers it directly, but in Texas, it's TCEQ and the Soil Board. And traditionally, the Soil Board tends to do rural projects, and TCEQ tends to do urban projects. There's not a regulatory requirement for that split, so sometimes it's not that way, but oftentimes it ends up that way. So the Soil Board does a call for grants every other year. They're doing setting up a call for projects like this. And in this particular project, in the first one, we developed a database of all the septic systems that were out there in the area that we could find out about. And we also, and some of that is looking at a 911 address database and saying, is there a house here? If there's electricity here, there's probably a house. And if there's a house, then do we know about a septic system there?
Right.
Sometimes it's a shop, somebody's shop or something that doesn't have a bathroom in it, but more often than not, if there's a 911 address, there's probably a house there. Property ownership, stuff like that. And then the grant specifically is targeting people who can't afford to replace their own septic system, which is really common out in rural areas. And it was also targeting systems that were closer to the water bodies directly. So if you were right on the banks of the Etoyac, you were going to score higher on that system. So a low-income person that was right on the banks would get scored before somebody that would, was making $80,000 a year and lived 60 miles from the stream. But that first project, we were going door to door, going, hey, do you know anybody, or do you know of any failing septic systems that we can target? And everybody was just really closed mouth about it because we were the regulatory agency. And so for the following projects, we kind of got through that wall, And because we had enough people, once we got the first 5 systems in, people started telling everybody in their community that, hey, it's not a scam. They really are helping people fix this problem. And then for the following projects, we partnered with TWRI and with the Pinewoods
RCND.
Resource
Conservation
and Development. I forget what it stands for. The Pinewoods RCND, they're based in Nacogdoches County, and they are, because they're not the enforcement agency for it, they had much better luck getting people to sign up. And we got to the point where we had a wait list. And so as we ended each project, we would have enough funds to do 20 systems or 21, and by the time we were applying for the next round of funding, we would already have a wait list with 10 or 15 people on it.
It really is an amazing program because they publish like this 233-page report for the first part of the just showcase every system that they've replaced throughout that program.
Interesting.
All right, so if you're interested in any of these projects, these are the links and project managers' emails, just for your reference. All right, I'll move on to
Next one for you.
And to kind of put that into perspective, all that work they were just talking about, all those septic systems replaced and all the projects that have gone on for the past 10, 11 years, that's for one of those bacteria and water impairments. That's for one segment in our basin. That's just one of those little things on that list I showed earlier. So that's what I mean. They're difficult and long to fix.
All right, move on to Bayou and Westmont Creek. Okay, so Bayou, the headwaters is in Tyler and just flows downstream. And it is a tributary of the Mud Creek, and Mud Creek is a tributary of the Angelina River. So this entire watershed encompasses Smith and Cherokee counties, and also intersects cities Tyler, Bullard, and White House. Bullard? Bullard. Okay. I have no idea. So a little bit of history about Westmont Creek. This water body has been listed as being impaired for, again, elevating E. coli concentrations in water. You can just see that there are historically 2 monitoring sites, and there's some data gap between early 2000s and recent years. But you can see just in general, that dash line is the water quality standard, which is 126 colony forming units per 100 milliliter. So if the dots are above that line, that is bad. And it's been kind of consistently above that line, meaning that something has to be done to address the impairment. In this watershed, because the upstream is extremely urbanized and downstream is more rural, it's kind of like Lanana, where you have the city of Nacogdoches in the middle. And so potential sources of pollutants can be point source, as in like the source we can see, oh, this is a pipe, it's leaking from here. And non-point source is kind of like, oh, if the dog just deposited like fecal matters on the landscape and there's a thunderstorm and just got rushed into the creek, that's non-point source. So it's actually a combination of both, potentially maybe in this watershed. So wastewater treatment facility outfalls can be a source, leaking sewer lines, sewer outflows can be one. Pet waste, if you don't pick up behind your dogs, your dog waste can be contributed to E. coli concentration, E. coli loadings in the water. And you can have the failing sepsis systems like we talked about before. You can have feral hogs, you can have deer, raccoons, what have you. And you have people dumping stuff on bridge crossings, a lot, animal carcasses and whatnot. So those are all potential sources. That's why when the lady asked me, like, can we trace where the pollutants from? It's very difficult. It's $1 million questions, honestly. And moving on to any questions about Westmont Creek? Okay.
Does that go through Jacksonville too?
It's north of Jacksonville.
Oh, it's north of
Jacksonville. Through Jacksonville.
Okay.
I actually don't know where Jacksonville is. I guess downstream.
Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah,
south of that.
Southwest.
69 goes up through Bullard and hits Jacksonville, so if you draw a straight line from Tyler through Bullard,
Yes,
Jacksonville's
correct.
down there.
Alright. Okay, so Aish Bayou, flows into San River Reservoir, and compared to Westmont Creek, this is way rural. You don't really see, except for St. Augustine, the city of St. Augustine, that's the only city in the watershed. And 99% of this watershed is within St. Augustine County. It's largely rural, covered by 56% of forests. So again, there are historically 2 monitoring sites with a lot of historic data within the watershed. One is upstream within the city limit of St. Augustine, and you can see that that one is kind of, it's above the standards, which is not good, but it's at least consistently above, not increasing or decreasing. There's no specific trend about bacteria concentrations. Versus the downstream, near the confluence with Turkey Creek, there's an increasing trend, meaning that there's something maybe going on in the middle of the watershed that's contributing to the increasing of the pollution level. So since this watershed is largely rural, it's less likely to have, I won't say it's impossible, it's just not as likely as more urbanized watershed to have point source pollutant source. It's probably largely non-point source, meaning pollution from the landscape. So failing septic systems again is one, and wildlife, feral hogs. I don't know if feral hog is an issue in this neighborhood. Okay. I assume it's like cross Texas, but when I talk about feral hogs, I usually get some reactions in Central Texas, but y'all very calm. And livestock, so cattle, horses, free-ranging chickens, backyard chickens, and again, illicit and illegal dumping. So, again, TWI, Texas Water Resources Institute, we got funded through the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, the Clean Water Act, again, the 319 money, to start this project where we address the impairment issues in both watersheds. It's under one contract, but we'll have like different deliverables and whatnot. So the Aish Bayou, one of the objectives is to support ANRA's data collecting in the Aish Bayou. And the QPP has been executed. We can start this call, yes, or as soon as you like. And we are also gonna conduct a flow estimation project or deliverable, and we're gonna summarize the data at the end of the project and to see the trend and how we approach the impairment issues later on. So, and another component is, of course, engaging stakeholders. So if you're interested, reach out and let us know your concerns or interest into joining the watershed partnership. And for Westmont Creek, we are developing what is called a technical support document for total maximum daily load allocations. So if you didn't know, total maximum daily load can be understood as a budget for how much, for the maximum amount of pollutant load that a water body can receive without jeopardizing its designated use. So for Westmont Creek, its designated use is for primary contact recreation uses, including swimming, wading, especially children wading, and kayaking, any activities that may cause potential ingestion of the water. That's primary contact recreation use. So we're developing a technical support document. Then TCEQ is going to develop the budget, the total maximum daily load for Westmont Creek. And they will have, later there will probably be voluntary management measures or regulatory management measures to address the impairment in the watershed. And of course, again, encourage you to reach out, because we don't know this area as much as you do, or I don't know. Y'all probably know more about this watershed. So that's that. If you have any questions, those are the project websites. I think you're gonna post the slides and stuff, right?
We'll post the slides.
Yeah. And I'll be the project manager for Aish, Bayou, and Westmont Creek. So you can reach out to me. Dr. Lucas Gregory is my supervisor. You can reach out to him. Michael Schramm and Duncan was the project manager, but he'll be leaving for teaching A&M. So, any questions right now? Yes, ma'am.
So you say that you guys are gonna be doing flow estimation.
Right.
So what is an important, very important information. So how do you plan to use that information? What are you collecting that information for?
Okay, so E. coli concentration without instantaneous flow, like Andrew said, every time they go out to collect data, instantaneous stream flow is one of the parameters. Because later when you calculate pollutant load, you gotta multiply the concentration by the stream flow. You can't look at the concentration by itself. Because if there's no flow, if it's just like a pond or a pot of water, no one's gonna hang out there, and the water quality standard wouldn't be applicable when there's no flow. So we gotta look at the concentration with the flow by different flow conditions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And on Aish Bayou, there's no USGS gauge.
There actually
For-
is a USGS gauge, but it's a
Oh,
flood gauge.
I remember
It
now.
flow whenever it's above a certain stage.
Right, it's a flood gauge that's only triggered when it's higher than 10 foot. The word depth is like higher than 10 feet or something. It won't help with, so we don't know what's the normal flow condition is. We know what the high flow condition is, but not the normal flow. But when would people be hanging out in the river? When it's during its normal flow conditions, right? So that's where the water quality standards will be the most applicable, right? So we want to estimate what's the normal flow condition.
My next question is, the Aish Bayou, say that, but the people use that for recreation and swimming,
Yes,
they do?
yes. Otherwise, there won't be a watershed protection plan. All these water bodies, they're
Because
designated.
you know that, like, for Banana Creek, there is also the plan for the implementation plan, but I don't see people swimming there because it's
Basically,
so much flow there.
the state is looking for maximum protection here. So if it's something that people can get in, it doesn't matter whether you think they're crazy or not. If they have the ability to get in it, then we have to treat it as though it's a recreational stream. So there's very few streams in the state that are not classed as recreational in some way. The Houston Ship Channel is one that classically gets called out as an example. Nobody's going to be swimming in that. You would get run over by a boat before you get to the other side. But especially for rural streams, unless it's like completely within private property and fenced off, or if it's just like so nasty that nobody would even consider getting in it, it's going to be classed as some level of recreation. The state does have a couple of different standards. They got primary recreation 1, which is what these are classed as, and that's kind of the default status. If you want it to be classed as something besides primary recreation 1, then a use attainability analysis has to be done, and somebody has to be able to go out there and look at the stream and go, there's no way. Nobody can get in the stream because it's either completely inaccessible or there's something about it that means that nobody will get in it. If it's something that's somebody could get in it, but we don't think it's likely they're going to get in it, then it might get classed as primary recreation 2, which has a little bit higher standard. Like all of these standards are based on the risk of ingestion of the water, right? So if it's like super shallow all the time, then it might get classed as primary recreation 2 or something like, for reasons similar to that. But for these, we have surveyed the locals, and there's always somebody. There's either evidence in the newspaper of somebody going out and recreating in the stream, or somebody will say, oh yeah, my kids are out in there and that all the time. You're like, why? Why would you do that? But yet they do.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe. Even during drought, there are people in the water, in the pot of water. It's appalling. But yeah, so whenever you see like a water protection plan in place, most likely at some point in the past, there's a recreation use attainability analysis done mostly, for the most part, by the river authorities, right? So they've done extensive work to see if it's actually used for recreation purposes. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oops, I stole this.
Where are you out of? You based, where are you based?
College Station.
Okay.
All right, Kimberly, you're up.
I'm really nervous. Where can I and can I not stand? Like, I feel like everybody's been there. Can I stand here or will I not be seen?
You'll be fine.
Okay.
Stand where you want to.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kimberly Wagner, and I'm the Communications Director for the Angelina and Neches River Authority, and I get to do all the really fun stuff. Not that what they do and what they do isn't fun in its own way or really important. In fact, the work that they do behind the scenes, whether boots on the ground or, I guess in Andrew's case, waders in the water, or behind a computer screen or collecting data, putting together research, all that's way more important than what I do. But I get to take what they do and share that with other people, make it more understandable. Because let's face it, this is a lot of really hard work, a lot of really smart people things that they do. I am constantly asking them questions like, what does this mean? What does this mean? I need to be able to explain this. So I myself have gotten a huge education since working for ANRA. I started with ANRA 4 years ago, and I actually had the honor of starting my job as a communications director right at the beginning of a worldwide pandemic, meaning I couldn't do 90% of my job, so I actually got to help out and do the waders in the water, Clean Rivers program, water sampling stuff. So I have a little bit of scientist in me. So that's been a really, really great experience, and so that's what I do. I share what we do, talking to schools, forming partnerships with great organizations, which you're going to hear from some of our guest speakers today, which are fantastic, and they're some of the wonderful friendships that I've developed through all the work that we do, and we've partnered up on some great events and projects. So I'm going to just do, my part's going to be pretty quick in all of this because we want to get to the more important people, but I'm going to tell you just a little recap of what we've done over the past year. So this is a little infographic I created. Altogether, don't check my math, but we've done nearly 70 events throughout the river basin that are CRP adjacent or CRP specific. That includes different events such as Texas Stream Team trainings, waterway cleanups. I've done 16 presentations to different organizations, whether it's a Keep Texas Beautiful affiliate, whether it's a Texas Master Naturalist program, a lot of schools, Rotary clubs, different types of community organizations. So I've been able to make lots of presentations, attended lots of different types of meetings and trainings where I got to share CRP and water quality material. We have had 6 internships, as Andrew mentioned, working with the CARRY program at SFA. 4 of those have been with our CRP program specific, and then we've had 2 in our environmental lab. So that's been fantastic to have that just in 1 year. We have had 8+ media, and thank you KTRE, this makes number 9. So thank you for that. So we're getting the word out there. And then we've had just 10+ miscellaneous type things. So whether it's working on our little coloring books that we do or something along those lines. And by the way, my entire presentation, it's all pictures. So just to make it fun, I guess. And plus I do enough talking, you don't need to see the words. So first of all, our alligator snapping turtle campaign has continued to be a great success. This is always a really great topic of conversation for anyone, anywhere, and a great way to introduce people to talking about water quality in the CRP program. I just say, have you ever heard of an alligator snapping turtle? Whenever I show a picture of an alligator snapping turtle, like this one, this thing, that's a road, but this thing is huge. This is one that somebody reported sighting to us. And that's, we ask people to report sightings to us. We get videos, we get pictures, locations sent to us about this. But anytime I go and talk to, especially like an elementary school, their jaw just drops whenever I show them a video or picture of these monsters. So that's been going very well. This has been something really good to talk about. Our Stash Your Trash campaign. Many of you have seen the yellow trash bags that are over there. Please take some. These are actually the last of the batch of 10,000 that I have helped distribute with my program partners, such as Keep Nacogdoches Beautiful, over the past 2 years. We aren't going to have to do a reorder of these bags. They are made out of recyclable material. They are reusable bags that we encourage people to use whenever participating in recreational activities such as paddling, swimming, boating, camping, hiking, fishing, as these bags are way better than a plastic trash bag. They're mesh, so water can flow through them while your trash stays inside. I don't sound too much like an infomercial here. And again, they're reusable, and it contains your trash. So those have been wildly successful. Been very excited about that. That's another great way that we've been able to get the word out, open up the conversation to people about, well, why is it important to not throw litter on the ground in the rivers? Why is that important? So it's been a great segue into those conservations. We have distributed a bunch of these to not just individuals and organizations, but for instance, this is River Run, our ATV park up in the Jacksonville area. We have partnered with them, and we've been giving them a bunch of these bags. And so whenever they have on weekends, all your people that go out and, rip up the roads and river, and they're side by side, so at least they are stashing their trash, and all those beer cans are not ending up in our waterways. So, baby steps, y'all. We have also participated in stream cleanup events. This was a stream cleanup event that we partnered with Keep Nacogdoches Beautiful back in February. It was a combined stream cleanup and a Texas Stream Team training. So we've had a lot of students, primarily from SFA, that have come together and, we picked up a lot of trash. This is the Recycle Retriever, one of my dogs. He also helps participate in some of our cleanups, and he serves as my little mascot. His name is JJ.
He looks like he's posing for a dating site.
He kind of does, doesn't he? Well, he is single. So some of the more interesting pieces of trash that we picked up out of the river. So this is stuff that is no longer in our riverways, polluting it and dirtying it up, making it look gross. This is part of the bathtub. You can't tell, so that I feel like that could just be sold in a garage still. I mean, look, it's in great condition. Recycle, reuse. This one was a really big hit. I actually just posted this on our Facebook page last week. Andrew found this in Hurricane Creek. What was that, a week or so ago?
Yeah, that was like last week or something.
Yeah, so for those of you who are too young to remember Kmart, I guess it still exists, but there used to be one in Lufkin. This was actually found, how many miles downstream do you think that is from the old Kmart location? Several miles.
I don't think it was even a full mile.
Oh. Liar. So a little ways further downstream from where the old Kmart used to be, we found this part of the shopping cart. And so it is very vintage because according to online, something is considered vintage if it's at least 20 years old. And so this logo was stopped being used exactly 20 years ago. Fun fact for the day. So this is a vintage shopping cart from Kmart. We found this little critter in in Bonita Creek in Nacogdoches. Anybody want to take a guess as to what this is?
TV set.
Yeah, it's a train.
It's a prop in a horror movie.
It looks like it, right? Any other guesses? All right, well, I did a little bit of research. I found it online. It is actually a vintage Play-Doh Funny Pumper, and it is worth $140 now.
Wow.
I'm sure in this same condition, it's still worth $140. But it's from 1969, so yeah, it was part of a Play-Doh set. So yeah, I wonder how long it's been down there. So we also started giving out Glitter Getter Awards. Say that 5 times fast, Glitter Getter Awards. And this one was at Central Heights Elementary School. Luke Dees here, he was caught during recess, instead of playing and having fun with his friends, he was picking up litter on the playground instead. So we thought it would be a really good idea to reward him for that. So now we've been looking for other opportunities to go around and reward people for doing just that. I'm trying to do it on a quarterly basis. These are some of those interns I told you about, doing some lab work and also some water quality sampling here. And, oh look, you didn't think that you'd be on here, did you? KTRE has helped provide some media exposure for us. This was at our water quality training and stream cleanup event that we did back in February. Andrew got to make his television debut. He's had a haircut since then, as you can see. But we celebrated World Rivers Day. We also have gotten some funding for Stream Team Kids, so this was our first time to get some funding for that, and I hope that we'll see more of that so that we can get more of those Stream Team Kids and grow our Texas Stream Team. Here's a few pictures of our Texas Stream Team trainings. I've gotten to have 2 trainings since last we spoke last summer, and overall trained 28 volunteers to be part of Texas Stream Team. This training was at Sam Raymond Reservoir at Jackson Hill, and then this training was at Bonita Park in Nacogdoches. So overall 28 new Texas Stream Teamers. For those of you who aren't familiar with that program, it is a volunteer water quality monitoring program. It basically mimics what the professionals do and makes it something that is learnable and doable by everyday people. Even I can do it, and I'm no scientist, so I get to show other people how they too can participate in water quality monitoring. So it's a really fun program. And we have some Stream Teamers in this room. Okay, and here's Andrew demonstrating during the Stream Team training at Bonita Creek, and I'm also happy to state that Andrew has now earned his level 2 certification for Texas Stream Team Trainer. I'm training him to be a trainer, so that way, once he helps me with the 3rd training, which will be held in the fall, he and I will be the only 2 Texas Stream Team trainers in all of East Texas. Right now, I'm the only one, so Andrew's going to hopefully take that title from me soon. Also, like I said, I talked to a lot of schools. This was at a park ranger program by Lovely Parks and Rec last summer, and we talked about water quality, and we did so using Frankie the fish and Timmy the turtle as our little mascots to talk about water quality and animals and river critters and why it's important for there to be clean water. And then this is at a 4-H camp. Golly, I look like a giant in that picture. But this was at a 4-H camp. I can't remember what town it was in, but it was somewhere up north. And we made little mini Secchi discs, which, by the way, if you want to know how to make a mini Secchi disc, I actually brought some, and I can show you how to make them. But we use mini Secchi discs to talk about water transparency, using different chemicals and things that were in, or different substances that were in the water, things like Kool-Aid, nothing toxic. But that was a really, really fun experience. They got to, get a little insight into why water quality is important. And then, of course, through the Neches River Rendezvous event, that didn't happen, but it almost happened. But as Andrew mentioned, due to all of this wonderful rain we've had, unfortunately, river conditions were just a little too unsafe to hold the Neches River Rendezvous, which, if you're not familiar with that event, it is a 10-mile paddling adventure down the Neches River that we open up to the public, where we provide the transport to and from the drop-off and pick-up locations, and also provide them, with a canoe or a kayak. In case you're wondering, this is as close as I could get to the Neches River. This is not supposed to be underwater. That is actually a pasture. From where I was standing, the river is actually more than half a mile away, and you can't even see it. But that's as close as I could get to it. This was the week of the event. So, unfortunately, it didn't get to happen. This is a view from the other side, because I drove all the way around over a bridge and all the way to the other side. Where that sign, you see this little white sign sticking up right here, no, that sign is taller than I am when I'm standing next to it. I'm 5'9", and it was very close to being underwater. So there's a bridge next to it. So, and then this is the takeout location where Highway 7 crosses the Neches River. Normally, it stops about right here. So, obviously we had to cancel the event. However, just like with any type of event cancellation, even though you unfortunately don't get to have the event, there's still a lot of promotion, a lot of public relations that comes out of it. So we're still able to, leading up to and even after the event got canceled, was still able to have a lot of opportunities to talk to people about water quality. The number of people I talked to one-on-one on the phone having to do the whole event cancellation and just conversations that it led to, it was all actually really a positive thing still. But we are still hoping to have it next year. And so sliding into the end of this year, we've done a whole lot of things, way more than just what these pictures show. But we're already looking at all the different things that we're planning for this upcoming year. Hope to do just as much, or if not even more things. So some of the upcoming opportunities, we're going to do a fall photo contest that has an emphasis on water quality. Some of my sponsors that had donated some prizes for the Neches River Rendezvous, I asked them, hey, can we do some type of a photo contest and us use those prizes for the photo contest instead? And they were like, yeah, that's great. So this is going to be a really good way to reuse those things that have just been sitting in my office. I'm planning to host a Texas Stream Team training October 5th, and Andrew will then become a trainer himself. March 29th, I plan to hold another, hopefully I can partner with K&B again, so we're in the month of March because it's waterway cleanup month in March, and so hopefully have another stream team training and a stream cleanup at that time. Looking tentatively at June 1st for the 25th annual Neches River Rendezvous. And then a couple of other things in fall of 2024, maybe in the spring. I've been talking with one of our community partners, Jose Lopez, who's going to be one of our guest speakers, TCA. We've been talking about doing some type of like a waterway cleanup and paddling event. So we're kind of working on that. And then also we're going to get some tent and table displays made. We've already bought the materials. We're just working on the design. So we'll be able to have Clean Rivers program, advertised wherever we go. We're also looking at doing some type of a camp out and cleanup event. This is something that the Brazos River Authority Foundation, I think, does every year, and it's been a really successful event. I've been talking to some Texas Master Naturalists about doing something like this. Everybody seems to think it would be a really cool idea, so we're looking at doing something like that. And of course, continuing the things we're already doing, such as giving out the Litter Getter Awards and just overall spreading all the good fun and cheer of all the great things that we do for water quality. Questions or comments?
Where would the cleanup camp out be?
I don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the number one things that we have to figure out, but we have talked to maybe a couple of landowners that might be interested, that have property adjacent to the river, or at least we've talked to somebody that knows somebody that would say that they'd be interesting, but I think they might be getting voluntold, so we gotta verify that. But if anybody can think of any good ideas, I'd love to hear it. All right, well then if there are no questions or comments, then I'll see you later, Gator.
Yes, we're going to speakers.
Okay. All right, so now it is time to hear from our fantastic guest speakers, and it looks like Ashley Villarreal with Keep Nacogdoches Beautiful is volunteering to go first. So.
Oh, well, my name was up there. I can happily sit back down.
Yeah, no, you're already here. So, Ashley, thank you for coming and talking with us today to share what you do with Keep Nacogdoches Beautiful. I'm a proud member of Keep Nacogdoches Beautiful Board of Directors and have been for almost 2 years now. And Ashley has done an absolutely amazing job as director. And so, take it away, Ashley.
Hello, I'm Ashley Villarreal, and yes, Kimberly wears many hats, and one of those is being a board member, and she is absolutely amazing. So if you are familiar with K&B, we are a volunteer-based 501c3 nonprofit. We are an affiliate of Keep Texas Beautiful. We're actually a Gold Star affiliate, which is just some fancy term that they give us because we do so many great things throughout the year. This is actually our 4th year in a row to get it. So I'm going to talk about just basically the things that we kind of do throughout the year. This is our list of events for this year. They kind of mimic every year, and I'll kind of go through each one. So this is a fan favorite of Nacogdoches. Pretty much anybody that knows about K&B, this is what they know about us. So we hold what we call our Tech Cycle Saturdays or Tech Cycle events, which is like an electronic recycling collection. So we partner with STS Electronics out of Jacksonville, and basically what we do is we operate as kind of a third-party drop-off. So people in our community could come and give us all of their old junk. This is a cool picture that has some of the cool things that we like collect. It's really funny because a lot of times we have high school volunteers and they're like, what in the world is this? Because this is that like cool see-through film that you used to have, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, it's really entertaining whenever we have, they're all like playing with all the flip phones and everything. It's really cool. So we host these roughly quarterly, and we hope that this just kind of reduces illegal dumping and just even taking up space in the landfill. STS actually does, we don't do the recycling, STS does. They actually part everything out, we reuse the wires and all that kind of fun jazz. So we also do quarterly Adopt a Highways. This is a program that's done through TxDOT, and they call it their Don't Mess with Texas campaign. If you're from Texas, you absolutely have to know what that is. This is, every time I do a presentation about K&B, this is what I rate to people. If you want to get involved in your community and you want to make a difference, this is by far the easiest thing to do, because you pick your section of highway you want to do, you clean it up when you want to. TxDOT provides the bags for you. These, well, these are statue trash bags. Kimberly usually brings these along, and then she collects recyclable items. But they provide these white trash bags for you, and then they even come and pick it up. So if you have a group, an organization, a large family or friend group, this is literally the easiest way for you to get back to your community. You can also join in on ours too if you want to. We also partner, or participate, I guess, in SFA's MLK Day of Service and their big event. I put these two together because they're pretty much the same concept. They're just held 2 different times. One is on actual MLK Day, and the big event is usually held in April every year. What this is an opportunity for SFA students to give back to their community. And so what they do is, the organizations that put these on is they reach out to the public and ask, hey, what is a service project that our students can do? So we submit projects, and then they assign the volunteers to whatever projects they have. If you're in Nacogdoches or Nacogdoches County, I don't know, don't quote me on that, it may just be Nacogdoches, but if you need a fence painted, a garage cleaned out, if you have some like really overgrown yard, submit it to this because it's free and anybody can do it. It doesn't have to be a business or organization. It can be you or your grandparents or whatever. But it's really, really fun because all these students show up. MLK Day is usually freezing cold because it's in January. And it's right before the spring semester starts. And so it's really cool to see all these students come out. These are just different pictures from every year. We kind of do like different events. We always hold like our Tech Cycle, and then we'll do our Adopt a Highway. That one I believe is at Pecan Park, which Lonana Creek runs pretty much right through it. This is also Pecan Park. And then I don't really remember where this one was, but this one was at Lake Nacogdoches, and then that's our Tech Cycle. So I copied some of Kimberly's pictures. I didn't copy them, we share have them. So we every year partner or participate, put on a waterway cleanup because, as Kimberly said, Keep Texas Beautiful deemed the month of March, Keep Texas Waterways Clean Month, and then the month of March also holds World Water Day. And so every year in the month of March, we try to put on some kind of waterway cleanup event, although we do have waterway cleanup events at other events as well. But the month of March, we're really kind of geared towards waterway cleanups. And so these two pictures are from this past year, what Kimberly was talking about. This one is from a few years ago, but it's one of my favorite pictures to put in my presentation. This is actually my son, and then our vice chair pulling, they're actually cutting out a vacuum cleaner out of Bonita Creek. They tried to pull it out as much as they could, but we had to get a pocket knife out because it was just, we were gonna have to get shovels and probably make the stream even worse. So we just decided to get out as much of it as we possibly could. So we also have what we call our Friends of the Forest Trail. This QR code, if you scan it, it brings it to our website. But basically what it is these little boxes here. We have two different trails, one at Pecan Park and one at Pioneer Park. It was a huge project that was put together by a whole bunch of people a couple years ago. These little boxes were built by, it was an Eagle Scout project. And then we had people from the Nacogdoches library who put together the little stories and the little characters. Basically what it is around the trail, there are these various little boxes, and each little house holds a friend, a forest friend, and they're all native wildlife to our area. There's 20 different ones, 10 different ones at each site, at each different trail. And so both trails are completely different. If you, at the very beginning of the trail, you scan the QR code and it pulls up whichever park you're at. And each friend has a story to tell. And they talk about different variety things. This guy, I think he's actually talking about water quality testing. And then there's a raccoon that talks about litter pickup. There's even some non-Canby related things. There's like Nacogdoches history, different things like that. There's one that talks about the 9 flags over Nacogdoches, and then there's one that talks about the Cato Mounds. There's just a different variety of things. So if you have any kids, grandkids, if you just like cool things like this, I highly, I can't recommend this enough. It's been a really great turnout. People really love it. People do like to vandalize it sometimes too, but that's part of it. And we fix it. It's not a big deal. So also along with the education aspect, we partner with our public library every year to put on an Earth Day at Pecan Park. You can see Kimberly again over here somewhere. But we usually do, we'll have like some litter pickup games. And then the past couple of years we've done, our board has collected strawberry containers. And then we taught kids how to plant. Like we brought in potting soil and they got to pick out their seeds. There was like a variety of different flowers and things that we picked from. And then they could build their own greenhouse. And so they put the soil in the little containers, put the seeds in there, and then spray it down with water, we close it, and it actually operates as a little miniature greenhouse. And then they could take it home, watch it grow, and then once it got too big, they could actually put it in the ground. And then it also teaches them about upcycling because we're reusing the strawberry containers as well. Our tire recycle a day, this is probably besides the Blueberry Festival, which I'll talk about in a minute, our biggest event of the year. Last year was literally our biggest event. We collected over 900 tires. And so what we do is we ask for sponsors. We partner with Cook Tire and the city of Nac, and we hold a free, basically drop off, like drive-through kind of thing to drop off tires. And so this really in hopes to prevent a lot of illegal dumping, because that is one of the main things I'm sure everybody in this room probably knows, how many tires that you find in our lakes and streams and everything. And so we're trying to help fight this problem. And so this past year, like I said, we collected over 900 tires, and this has been our 4th event, and we hope to keep it going every year. And for it to also be a free service to the public as well, because we've learned that people aren't going to pay to drop off things. So. And so I mentioned earlier the Blueberry Festival. So if you're from around here, you know that Nacogdoches has the Blueberry Festival every year. We handle the trash throughout the whole event for that day, and Kimberly knows how much trash that is. I can't even put into words how much trash it is, but I mean, you have to realize this is an event that starts at 8 a.m. and it goes on until 4 p.m. and there are literally thousands of people from all over the country, not just the state, the country, that come to this event. This past year, I know the chamber who actually puts on the event, they did their wrap-up report recently, and they were estimating this year they somehow got, they were tallying their numbers off of cell phone towers, so how many pings they got in the specific area on that day, and they were estimating about 19,000 people. So that's a lot of trash. And so we handle all the trash for that. Historically, we've done the Christmas festival, but I think this year we're actually going to swap over to the Day of the Dead festival because that is a very upcoming event. It's been a really well event over the past couple of years, and so that's probably what we're going to be doing this year rather than the Christmas festival. So while this doesn't involve trash, we also like to plant trees. If you don't know, there is a National Arbor Day and there's also a Texas Arbor Day. So National Arbor Day takes place in the spring. Texas Arbor Day takes place the first Friday in November, and that is because we have longer summers. And so it's warmer during that time, and then it gives the trees the chance to establish before it gets super hot. And so if really, I mean, you can still do it, but if you plant a tree here in the spring, which is what the National Arbor Day is, the chances of that tree surviving are very slim because it just gets so hot and dry here. So we partner with the Garden Capital of Texas and also the city of Nacogdoches to plant trees every year on Texas Arbor Day, or around that weekend of Texas Arbor Day. And this actual event, this took place at Poison Softball Park, which is just a softball park we have in Nacogdoches. But this specifically was, we picked this location because they were having erosion problems. There's actually a creek that runs just right here. This is where Bonita Creek runs. You can't really tell, but it runs just right in here. And so they were having some erosion problems down there. And so that was why we chose this area. We picked different areas throughout the city, but this one specifically. So water quality, trees, they don't pick up litter, but they help with water quality. And so I'm sure everyone in this room probably has a good idea of how we can make water clean, but for anybody that doesn't know, or the people online, I just have some friendly things here. So to help volunteer, there are so many organizations. I mean, not just us, but there's also ABC, which is Angelina Beautiful Clean, same concept as us, but on the other side of the river. And then of course, AMER holds things. There's just so many organizations that you can get involved in. Use reusable items. Things like water bottles, straws, oh my gosh, the shopping bags, the Walmart shopping bags, that is one of like the biggest things that we always find everywhere. And then spread the word kindly, because if I've learned anything, it's that you're not going to get your point across if you're rude about something, or if you're very firm about something. If you can talk about water quality issues and how to keep our waters clean, important things, and you do it kindly, you are more likely to get across people. And then remember that small actions add up. That's one of the biggest things that I like to tell people, that I think this generation of people that we have is everybody thinks that they have to just jump head first and solve all world's problems all at one time. And you don't have to do that. Small little things can make such a big difference. And then once you get in the habit of doing this one great thing, move on and add on something else. And then not only are you going to make a big impact, but the people around you are going to catch on to that as well. And so it's just going to keep snowballing after that. And so, yeah, that's my presentation. Here's my email address in case you need me for anything. That's it. Everybody has any questions?
Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you. May not trip over this again.
All right, who wants to go next? Paper, rock, scissors? Oh, okay. introduce to y'all, this is Jose Lopez. He is with the Texas Conservation Alliance, and he and I have been working behind the scenes to try to put together some kind of a cool event. What they do at TCA, they share a lot of common mission points as we do. And Jose and I also just recently learned within the past few weeks that we're actually cousins. So take it away, cuz.
So I'm not sure if anybody here is really familiar with Texas Conservation Alliance. This is our website. I didn't bring a presentation. Usually places I go don't have a way for me to do a presentation, so I didn't have one. So I'll just kind of go over who TCA is. So we're a nonprofit organization. We've been advocating on behalf of wildlife and wild places for over 50 years, since 1972. We've mainly been working in policy, but lately we've been doing more work. In the past 2 or 3 years, we're doing more community work, so getting a lot of the kind of the similar things that Keep Nacogdoches Beautiful does and ABC, doing some cleanups, streams, waterways, things like that. We do tree plantings, we do prairie restorations. So I have done a pollinator garden at Greystone Richardson Park. We need to get back out there and put some signs up because the city has, they weren't aware that I guess some of the crews were aware that we had it there and some of them weren't, and so they mowed it down. I went back and some of the plants are still there, but it would be nice if we could get back out there and replace some of the plants that they cut down. I think a lot of our native grasses got cut down, little blue stems and Indian grass. Those were doing pretty good before they got cut down. We're mainly in the DFW area. Most of our people are. I'm the only person in Lufkin, so I kind of rely heavily on volunteers. This is our website, and you can go to the Take Action part at the top, and that will lead to our RSVP page, and that has all of our events. One of the events that just got canceled, it was supposed to be on Friday, was a guided paddling tour. But we did reschedule that. It's going to be on August 18th. Since it got rescheduled, we're also adding hiking to that. So that will be at Martin Dawes State Park. If anybody's interested, you can go to our website. The link is up there. It just says to be determined. I just haven't updated it to the new date, but it will be August 18th if anyone's interested. And if you know anybody who's interested, just kind of get that word out to people. Sorry, I just did not come ready. We also do a lot of waterway cleanups. So we do work. We've done some cleanups at Hurricane Creek in Lufkin. We've started at Greystone Richardson Park, and we just go down as far as we can until our time is up. We usually start at 9 a.m. and at 12 p.m. So we got 3 hours, and we just do as much as we can. The more that there is, we just don't get as far if there's a lot of trash there. And after rains like we've had lately, there is usually a lot of trash, a lot of trash bags on the sides. So I guess we're some of those people out there playing in the creeks. And we also start at Kiwanis Park. We'll probably be doing that one probably later this month. I don't have that up. I need to get in contact with some of the schools. Since over the summer we don't really get a lot of work done, and it's just been really wet this year, so that's kind of throwing a wrench in things. So hopefully we'll be able to do some more after school gets started when the teachers and everybody are back. So just kind of look out for that. If y'all are interested, I can leave my card and my information, so that if anybody's interested in signing up for some of our events, you can email me or check our website out. And we're also trying to get more involved in like the recreational side of things, because I think that we can do a lot of cleanups, we can do a lot of tree plantings and stuff like that, but I mean, some people might prefer to get out and see some of the things, and that might get more people interested in doing some of the recreational things that we do, or get more involved in the conservation side of things. So I did a TOF leadership training, that's Texas Outdoor Families with TPWD. So that kind of helps families like with limited income, get out and do some of this recreational stuff. Sorry, I'm nervous.
Great.
So anyway, so we're trying to do these, make these recreational activities available to more people. So while we're there, we try to we provide people with the tents, with the cooking supplies, things like that, and teach them how to use these supplies. So just trying to get that opportunity to more people. And the state parks that we're going to work with are in North Texas, but hopefully I can get some work done in East Texas as well. It just doesn't seem like the program is as prevalent in our area, so maybe we can bring it here. So sorry, y'all. I really wasn't ready for this.
Comment?
Yeah.
One of the things that I really like about what Jose does with TCA, first of all, I'm not just saying this because he's family, but he is the first TCA person in this entire area. So he's just kind of creating his own path through all of that, and all the partnerships that he's gone out and made and all the things and progress he's done. You've been with TCA for how long now? Like a year and a half, maybe?
Something like that, a year and a half,
Yeah.
it'll be 2 years.
And what he's doing is he's doing a lot of the types of things that I try to do through ANRA. Not everybody can understand all the analytical data stuff, but by getting people involved in the outdoors. So for instance, that's why ANRA wanted to start doing the Nature's River Rendezvous, in which he was going to volunteer for, by the way. But getting people connected to nature, getting them out on our waterways, whether it's in a canoe or through a stream cleanup or even camping river adjacent. Those are the types of activities and events that get people to understand why water quality is so important. Because unless you get people out there to see what there is to actually protect, they don't have a clue. The number of students when I go and talk to, and I mention the Nature's River, they have no idea what the Nature's River is astounding. I want to change that, and I know Jose does too. And so he's been doing a really great job on the whole recreation side of things. So he is also boots on the ground. So big respect to him.
Yeah, and I will not be guiding the paddling trip in Martin Dyes, thankfully. The park rangers will be doing that. But I do want to try to start another paddling trip on the Toyac. I know y'all mentioned the Toyac, but I think that would be a really great place to do some kind of paddling event, and maybe turn it into a paddling trail at one, depending on how the event goes, how many people show up, I guess how far we go, because with the Nature's River, I mean, it's kind of unpredictable. You don't really know when the river is going to be, when you're going to be able to paddle it. But the Toyac, I've been there year round. And I mean, when the river goes down, you're still able to paddle it. When the river goes up, the flow is just not so fast that you can't paddle it. So to me, that seems like it would be a really good place to hold some kind of event like that. So, I mean, if that's something that y'all would be interested in, I mean, that's kind of what I was hoping that we could do. And I don't really know how Texas Paddling Trails program works, but I would like to try to figure that out and maybe turn that into something. It's kind of like my private little haven that I like to go to, but I think that it would still be good to introduce that to other people too. So hopefully that's something that we can get on the ground. Let's see. I mean, that's really all I have. If y'all are interested, like I said, just check out the website. I'll leave my card here, and y'all can just email me and see what we can do. Thank y'all.
TCA was a silver level sponsor for our Nature's River Rendezvous event, as well as a rendezvous crew sponsor. So big kudos to them. All right. Next we have Sam Hernandez. He is with the Citizen NAP, and I met Sam last year, and I really don't even know how to explain what he does without doing it justice. So I'm gonna let him do all the talking, but this is a really cool project, something I never heard about, so take it away.
Okay, like Kimberly said, my name is Sam. I'm actually the building and booking manager for The Citizen. We are a local nonprofit venue that has we tackle the same issues that a lot of nonprofits take on, but we've decided to, or been led to do this a little bit differently. So our mission, this is our mission, we focus on holistic empowerment of our community. Our building is located in downtown Mac. If you know anything about Zion Hill or the newly restored Zion Hill Baptist Church and Oak Grove Cemetery, we are that building right next to the cemetery. We used to call it Prison Gray on the outside, had a lot of rust stains, it just looked really rough. And so we've taken it on. We began the process to buy this building back in 2019. Through the pandemic and all the wonderful things that happened with that, we closed on the building in 2021. We were able to buy it at a very, very discounted price because of a chemical issue underneath the building that affects all of us and threatens Lenana Creek. So one of our main focuses, it's not only the chemical issue underneath our building, but it is the community around us. As many of y'all know, a community is only as healthy as the people inside of it. And so if the people aren't healthy, then the community falls. And so we seek to pour into our community in 3 different ways. We work with small Texas communities, just like Nacogdoches is the oldest town in Texas. Our goal is not just Nacogdoches. It is all around, or all through Highway 21, those smaller towns that have kind of gone by the wayside. We want to enter into each of those towns and take on buildings that have those types of chemical issues. Our main thing, or our first area that we want to pour into is spiritual, knowing Jesus. We are citizens that love Jesus, and so we, again, take on this building with a different emphasis. We want to be good stewards of what we've been given, and so this building has been neglected for a long time. The chemical issue underneath it threatens Lenana Creek, and so as citizens, we want to take it on. It's been neglected long enough, and so what we're trying to do is not only fix that problem, that's kind of like the first step. The second step is reclaiming bodily health for our people. Nacogdoches is, or a lot of East Texas, not very healthy. That's just not our culture, and so we want to be part of restoring and reclaiming that bodily health, whether it be through cooking classes, learning how to use the ingredients that are at local grocery stores and use the vegetation around us, like just learning about what we can eat and all of those good things. And then the third thing is establishing lasting financial health. Again, especially our area, very impoverished. There's a lot of low-income families in Nacogdoches, specifically in our zip code. And so we want to change that, not only for the immediate years, but generationally. If we can introduce healthy practices to learn how to budget, to learn how to do proper financing, we want that to happen at our building. So these are some of our challenges as the building. I have to put my notes on because if I don't, I'm sure all of y'all know, if I don't have something in front of me, it's hard to remember everything. Like I was saying, we want to start in Nacogdoches because it is the oldest town, and work our way through Highway 21. The chemical remediation. There is our chemical issue underneath our building was put there back in the 70s and 80s. That our building used to be a dry cleaning facility, and EPA standards for dumping those chemicals were not around back then, and so they poured chemicals into the soil, and that's what allowed us to buy the property at such a low cost, is because nobody wants to touch it. Nobody wanted to touch it except for us. And so we bought it and are actively trying to remediate that. We are a small group, kind of referencing what Kimberly said. She didn't even know about us, which is fine. We're still very, very young. And our biggest interactions come from just face to face. And so getting to interact with Kimberly, getting to interact with Keep Nac Beautiful has been really, really encouraging for us, just to get to know different people. So our name recognition is a challenge for us, but as we as we get to know more of our community and rent out our building, that kind of builds those relationships. Financial partnerships, since we are a nonprofit, we don't want to rely on donations from people. We do not want to be a burden on the community. We want to be a blessing to the community. And so financial partnerships, those are just from anybody who wants to partner with us. We gladly welcome it. But one of our biggest ways to generate funds is renting out our building. We're able to be rented out for any kind of small party you might think of. That's just how we pay the bills and how we do administrative costs. Community exposure, again, as we have these conversations, as we get to be part of the Chamber of Commerce and NAC and being able to speak at these types of events, we are slowly increasing our recognition and getting exposure. So one of our goals is the TCEQ brownfields remediation. We've already had phase 1 and phase 2 completed. That finished back in 2021. And that's already been done, and we have all the paperwork. I've never seen the binders that the EPA puts together, and when they showed me the binders that they make, I only saw those large binders at Walmart, and I never touched them. And so when I saw it actually filled with all the papers, I was very overwhelmed. Again, we are a team of four citizens of NAC. Our board used to live in Nacogdoches for many, many years, and then they all ended up moving to Bryan College Station, not together. It's just all of their families ended up in Bryan. And so they were like, well, we can't just leave this building here. How do we keep it going? And so that's where I come into the picture. Back in 2023, I was hired on. And so I'm, again, boots on the ground for the citizen. I'm interacting with the community, renting out the building. So our phase 1 and phase 2 has already been completed. We would like to get into the actual remediation of our building, and this current total is always changing every quarter. What I am learning about the remediation program, every quarter the fee increases a little bit. So right now we're right about $50,000 to get into the remediation fee. We have to pay back fees for not being in the program, for our building not being in the program, since the remediation program was founded in 2008, I believe. So we have to pay for every quarter we were not in it. My face is exactly the same. And so it's hard, it's a big task. And so anytime we get to rent out the building, portions of those funds go to getting into the program. And so once we have that $50,000, we can be in the program, and it only costs $1,200 per year to maintain our stance in the program. And so it's just that one big jump that we need to take. So then our third, remediate to completion. It is an undetermined timeline. Again, as I'm listening to y'all talk, one, it's amazing how smart everybody is in this room, and so it's really cool to see just how much work goes into the research and the development and the implementation of these things. There is no timeline for how long this remediation takes place. We just know that once we're in the program, we're in it, and that means good things are happening and things are starting to turn. And so the $1,200 per year, that's manageable for sure. $50K to get in, that's a little harder. And so that's what we're going through, or those are our big challenges. What is really interesting about our building is that we are 500 feet from the eyes of Father Mark-Hill. I don't know if y'all know anything about Nacogdoches and the story of Father Mark-Hill. Back in the day, there was a Native American tribe that was out of water, and where they got their water was completely dry. And Father Mark-Hill came, prayed, and a spring started in that area. And so what spelled death for a Native American tribe, life came out of it. And so I don't think it's any coincidence that our building is 500 feet from that same place. And so the chemical underneath is, okay, don't judge me if I can't pronounce it, tetrachloroethylene. I hope I said that correctly. It's a dry cleaning chemical, and so that's what's underneath our building, and it is on its way to Lenana. And Lenana Creek is about 550 feet from our building, and so slowly inching towards, and we took on this building knowing it had this chemical problem and wanting to see it fixed. What we're learning, again, whoever owns the building, once this chemical breaks into Lenana, whoever owns the building is responsible for whatever it touches after it breaks into the creek. So everything below us, we would be responsible. We bought it with that understanding and are eager, as I hope, as we talk with more and more people get eager to fix this and to start the process for remediation. So once we're in that program, these are the things that we want to get into as a building. We want to bless our community with, one, a protected water table. Again, a community is only as healthy as the people inside of it. We also want to turn it into a commissary kitchen. After it was a dry cleaner, it turned into a restaurant, which many people know as Lenana Hall. It turned into a restaurant, then became another type of venue. But the commissary kitchen, Nacogdoches, and I'm sure Lufkin as well, we have anywhere from 20 to 30 food trucks that frequent our cities. And there are no commissary kitchens from Houston all the way to Tyler in East Texas that I could find. There are no big commissary kitchens. Most of the food trucks prep in their homes, or they rent out something for an exorbitant amount of money to prepare their food. And we want to be a place where economy grows, and so we would rent out our commissary kitchen for a very low price, just basically to cover costs, and allow these entrepreneurs to get their business up and running and not be hurting financially. Again, adding to the resources for NAC, financial classes being held in our building. Most people, especially of low income, are pretty intimidated to go into a bank to learn about finances. We want to be a place where people can come in and learn and gain tools. We want to be used for building local economy. Again, the health of the people, the safety of our people. So right now we're covering our costs by renting our event venue, by finding partners to hold events at or inside our venue, and that's about it. So does anybody have any questions? I will try my best to answer them as clearly as possible, but there are a lot of big words in that 3-inch binder. So feel free to ask us anything. I have business cards as well if you would like to talk more with us or with me, and you can check out our website as well.
Is that the image of the building there?
Yes, this is artist rendering of the building. It is right between the cemetery and Main Street as you're driving up Lenana on the right side. I saw all the awesome pictures that everyone had. I was like, oh, I probably should have brought a picture of our building. That would have been nice.
No, you have to see it for yourself. Sam gave me the honor, or he let me tour their building, and it actually is a really cool building. So if you are looking for a place to host a birthday party, a gala, a fundraiser for the citizen, then you need to contact him. And it's I really respect what it is that they're doing, all for the sake of saving Lenana Creek. So
Well,
How far are you from your goal? You're 50.
we are very far.
Yeah.
We are very far. So most recently, we've had a lot of financial challenges. Not only are we operating on a smaller budget, there have been some issues with the county not recognizing us as a nonprofit, and so we've had to pay taxes on the building, even though we are a nonprofit and we purchased it as a nonprofit. There have been some issues there, and so now we're recognized as a nonprofit, thankfully. We're just not getting that money back. So again, there's a lot of issues there. We've had some building issues, and so those are finally fixed. And we've had a lot of different things happen in our building that has pushed us a little bit further back than what we were at.
So there's no danger of being in the building, it's just, you're saying that the problem is going into the creek?
Correct. Yeah, it does not pose any risk to anyone above ground. When TCEQ came out, again, my understanding is they bored monitoring wells about 25 feet or 20 feet down. And so that's where they that's where they gathered all their data from. So it's very, very deep in the ground. It's just moving slowly.
So what would you do, pull it out and then replace it? I mean,
what we are learning is that they would put solvents into those monitoring wells, and that's what would soak up or remove it.
Huh.
Or neutralize it, I guess is the better word.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right.
So how often do they go on police in the work?
I'm not sure. Once we get in, then they would kind of show up, or they would tell us how often they go in. I guess it depends on how they want to tackle it.
But you're getting bookings, I mean, that is happening.
We are getting bookings, so that's been
Cool.
nice. Most of our advertising has been word of mouth, and that's definitely one of the better ways of advertising, but having these times to share who we are is really big help as well.
I think you guys are doing a good job, keeping this and trying to raise money to fix the problem. But so even that you say that people is not going to be affected, right? And it should be like a constant checking of that water that was in the creek, because it's causing, a problem in the creek and the water quality, and in that creek there are species of conservation concern for the state of Texas that actually are being impacted from this type of effluents that exist.
I agree. Any others? Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you again. Again, I'll leave my stuff and love to talk to anybody.
By the way, Sam also showed us that giant TCEQ binder, and I think I just closed it right away. Okay, and our last guest speaker of the day, but certainly not least, is my newest friend in the bunch. I feel like we've known each other forever, but I actually met him for the first time at about 12:30 today. So this is Curtis Craven, and he is an independent filmmaker, recently moved to the East Texas area from the state capital, and we're glad that he is here. And he's going to tell us about some really cool things that he is working on to help promote the Neches River and conservation and water quality and all the things that we love here. So, Curtis, take it away.
Okay, well, Kimberly, thank you very much for the invitation. And we're working on, I'll just go get to it. We're working on it right now, just beginnings of a production on the Neches River. And it's going to be aimed at, designed for PBS broadcast. And kind of like the power behind, or the force behind this project is Ellen Temple, who's in Lufkin. And her statement is, our ancient Neches River overflow bottoms are a cradle of life that is fascinating, beautiful, and valuable. A treasure that flows through the heart of East Texas. Now, someone had said earlier that no one knows about the Neches. I've had that problem too. It's like you start telling, especially my friends that don't live in East Texas, you start talking about the Neches River, they're going, where's that? I mean, it's bad enough that, East Texas, they don't know, what's that near? But it's a situation where we have started working on this, and the idea is it's going to be kind of a linear project, starting with the headwaters of the springs in Van Zandt County. We think we have found the owner of the property, so we're going to be going back there and shooting, kind of, I don't think it's a real dramatic bubbling up of water. I'm not really sure what it is, but I know that at one point up north, which I've seen, you can actually just step over the river itself. So it's kind of an interesting start, and then of course it winds its way down to the Sabine lake, what is it, the Sabine Lake, where the Angelina and the Neches come together. And that's where it just kind of disappears. And then one of the objects on this is, we were thinking of a shot, for example, like what's that big bridge down there at the Sabine?
Rainbow Bridge?
Is that what it is? Because people are driving over, constantly driving over the Neches River, but it's kind of invisible because it's down below them, from what I understand. I haven't really been down there. But we've got a good group of people working. We've got Ellen Temple, we've got a historian, Thad Sitton, who I don't know, he's kind of a regional, he's known by a lot. And then Adrian Van Dellen's going to be my boat man, and he just knows the river. He knows the river. I think what I've been doing, what I brought with us today is a series of what I'm calling sketches, because what we'll do is we'll go out. This is usually how I do it. We'll go out somewhere and we'll shoot a day or two, and then I come back, and then I kind of just grab footage and just make sure that the lens cap was off, that the audio's good, and I won't be editing this. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of monitoring what's available. So I was going to show you one. We'll do this. I guess we can show this one. Could we hit that other mic over there, because I don't think anybody needs that. Just get a movie feel here. So again, these are sketches. They are not anything that's going to be final. It's just to get a feel for some of the stuff we've been doing. One of the things that we're doing a lot is working with biologists out of Tyler, and they've got field work going on for different critters, crayfish, mussels. Another thing is the snakes. We're getting ready to shoot some what they call snake boards, and I've been to one site already where we're trying to find snakes. But anyway, this is one of the things we did. They're very short clips, so this is on the crayfish. So we can roll that, please. Roll tape.
I plan on getting my master's, which will take me 2 years, and I'll be studying crayfish. The first time I've been for years. Got this one. Perfect. Bitten or pinched?
Okay, good.
Okay. So I've been pinched by crayfish just today at least 11 times.
But the first day we went out, they set the traps. Of course, there's going to be more to this, the scene, but that's just a little bit clip of the crayfish. It's kind of interesting because you don't think of crayfish as necessarily something that is that important, but it turns out there's a million different species, and there's even little tiny, what they call pygmy crayfish, which baby fish eat. So it's all part of the big cycle of life. So we'll go into, as we go along, there'll be more in-depth visions of this. But what's the next one that I had in there?
Highway 21.
Yeah, let's try Highway 21. It says, where is the river? I think the volume thing's stuck on the front. Oh, there. Where's the channel? kind of the ebb and the flow of the river. It's not, don't build your house over there. But the problem is, as we know, over experienced people build their houses and then they try to I'll put a dam up. That'll stop all that nasty flooding. But it's just one of those situations where that's going to be a big deal, I think. A big part of the piece is the river comes and goes, which is it is a living thing in a way. Now, what's the next one? Highway 84. Okay, this one is, again, a short little sketch.
I think this is where that island is located, and I could go a right or a left. I'm not positive, so I'm gonna explore the left-hand side first.
He's my boatman.
Easy does it.
That looks like the African queen. But again, you get kind of a feel. I don't know if you get a feel for anything, but it's just like we're going to be using drone and GoPros and regular cameras. But on this thing with the crayfish, we were doing the snake boards the other day. The first one we didn't get any snakes, but I actually put one of the students a grad student had a body cam and a head cam with a GoPro. So we're having some fun on that. But we can hit the lights, please. But the thing that I'm, again, we've got the science and we've got the location and we've got all the different kind of stuff going on. But the approach that I'm going to take on this film is more of we are going to have the scenes, the sequences, which is music and, pretty pictures and narration. We're going to have narration. But then we're also going to be doing sequences which I call observational documentaries, my favorite, where you actually hang out with people. You just follow them around. You're hearing all of these different conversations and things. It kind of puts you in the moment. And especially like the snake, I keep going back to the snake boards, but we had these 3 women out there, there's students, two students and a tech. And it was kind of fun to just follow them around and hear them chatter and talk back about what they were doing and where we're going, and being in this kind of this beautiful woodsy environment of Boggy Slough. And so I think that that's going to be the approach. So you're going to hopefully get a lot of overhearing chatter is what I do. It's kind of like we're almost listening in on somebody's conversation. The editing and distribution, as I mentioned, is going to be PBS. I've got an editor that I've been working with for a million years. He's done a number of things with me, and I'm very happy that we've got him on board. As I mentioned too, we're going to start at the Springs. We've also got a Caddo crossing over near Caddo Mounds, where there's evidence that at one time it was a bison crossing, and then it became a Caddo Indian crossing, and there's actual artifacts that look like they were probably ceremonial more than they were active. And so what I've done is I've been working and making friends with the Caddo for many years now, but I've got these 3 women that we're going to put on the Caddo women. We're going to put on the river, we're going to go to the site, and kind of, again, pick up the conversations and their feelings about being in this place, because all these people were, as you know, they were removed from their homeland, and now they're kind of scattered everywhere. And then we're going to be able to probably talk in depth to a certain extent about Caddo Mounds and the relationship with that tribe with the river, which I think is be a kind of an interesting historical thing. We'll be camping. I think Adrian, like I say, I'll be following Adrian around. So we'll be camping on the river and see, just kind of scenes and scenarios. We'll be getting the scenic stuff. Probably the train crossing is, I don't know if you guys know where that is. We're up near Rusk where the state railroad crosses. The falls, I don't think they call them the falls. What are they called? It's where the river, there. Anyway, it's a small falls.
Rocky Shoals.
Hmm?
Rocky Shoals?
Yes, there you go. We're going to do snapping turtles. We're going to do mussels. And again, I'm out with somebody on Thursday who's going to be doing the snake boards, but his name is Neil, where is he? I forgot his, I don't have my notes here, but he is an expert on mussels, and supposedly he can go somewhere in the river, just paddling around and say, okay, I think this place has mussels. Just reach down and pull them up. So but he's one of those crazy scientist dudes.
Neil Fold. Neil Fold.
Yes, exactly. That's him. And I'm lucky to be hanging out with Neil, because I think he's the real deal, like Adrian is.
8 years old guy.
Yeah, he's a good, interesting character. I think we're going to do the Neches River Rally, which is a different organization, right? Mm-hmm. Sorry.
They're Southwest, but that's okay.
Okay, that's all right with you guys. And that's September the 7th. So that's going to be a group kind of thing. Then we're going to go down to Danby. Dam B, is that above Boggy or below? It's below.
Is Steinhagen Reservoir.
Yes,
Below San Juan.
correct. That's right. And we're going to do probably there, I think is where they're going to be doing the snapping turtle studies. And also, for some reason, I wanted to say, why don't we get the physical, technical part of what is a dam? Because I'm sure there's some nooks and crannies within the dam, and whoever's the manager can kind of explain, okay, I'm going to open this up and say, oops, but that might be kind of fun. But these are just ideas we're throwing around right now. And then, of course, we've got to right now, we're kind of on the edge, we want to find a botanist, a botanist character, because there's so much plant life. It's just amazing. And I guess if you guys, most of you probably been on the river, you kind of know what I'm talking about. So we're starting our list on this thing, but like I said, we're early on, and again, if anybody has any ideas as to who or what, we're kind of open right now. We're open to concepts. For example, we're talking now about, as I was talking with Andrew and Kimberly about maybe going out and shooting people, actually taking water samples, taking them back to the lab, and then discuss what is the river quality, what is the pollution level, and then again, you've got some of this river is not. I don't know what it is, but I don't think it's quite that polluted, is it, compared to a lot of rivers?
No, it's not.
So it's kind of in a way it's in kind of good shape, but again, mussels are one of those little creatures that if you didn't have the mussels, because they filter the water out. Everything is kind of connected in a way. And I think that our main goal with this piece is to raise awareness of the river, raise the awareness of the importance and the beauty of the river, because no one knows about it. It's just like one of those unknown things. So hopefully by the time we're done with this project and it gets out to whoever, PBS, we'll have a lot more people aware of this place, and then maybe it becomes, the value. That's what we want. It's very valuable, and everybody here is kind of working behind, with that concept in mind, right? To keep it healthy. So, but anyway, are there any questions? Good. Okay, folks, well, thank you very much for allowing me to come here and give you a quick idea of what the heck's going on over here.
Well, we are looking forward to seeing your film.
Well, thank you.
Maybe next year at this time, maybe we can have a viewing party. Or
Screening.
Popcorn, yeah, we'll do a screening.
We shall.
So.
Good idea.
So, well, I'd like to say thank you to all of our guest speakers for sharing the different things that you do that share the same mission that Andra and TWRI do. Everything that we do is all for the sake of water quality and conservation. So thank all of you for your hard work and everything that you do in your respective organizations and for coming here today and sharing this. So
Thank you.
Thank you all. Does anybody have any general questions or discussion you'd like to have before we adjourn? No? All right, well, thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. Have a good afternoon and safe travels back to wherever you hail from.